All right, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Wired Sound podcast. So today we have a very special guest. Been touring around in Asia and just been crushing it. Now we have me. I'm just doing a solo episode today. Full transparency, we were supposed to have a guest and we just couldn't make it happen in time. But I'd love to just chat about the current state of dance music, where we're at, and just some of the things that have been happening in the dance world. And we have Alexia here behind the scenes from the Academy, who's going to help with some questions from students and graduates, and just maybe some news articles on things that have been happening. But yeah, to kick it off, I just got back from Asia about a week and a half ago. Honestly, the jet lag has been brutal and taken me a long time to kind of adjust. It's like a 12-hour time difference. But first time touring international, and it's a really cool experience. I think something that would help some up-and-coming DJs just to flip the mindset of being big in America versus being relevant in another country. You really never know where your music is going to hit. So to see fans on the other side of the world that actually like knew my music, it's a really cool feeling. And so just remember that you might not see the results in your local town or where you're playing currently, but there could be some people in Asia absolutely loving the sound that you're making. So we're in Coachella time right now, and I'm not gonna lie, I've been watching a lot of the Coachella clips, and I'm like, I don't know, the crowds, right? They don't look like they're it. They just look kind of dead. I don't know what it is, if it's just the energy, but I see like this article right here says that EDM has dominated Coachella with over 40% of the festival lineup being dance music acts, which is cool to see. It's kind of like the dominant sound of Coachella. But yeah, I don't know if it's just influencers or what's kind of creating the Coachella crowd. But they don't seem fun compared to like the dance music crowds. Maybe they just don't know what to do with I saw like Odd Mob, who's absolutely crushing it right now. And every dance clip I see of him, or every festival clip I see of him, he's absolutely like the crowd, insane energy. But then I saw the Coachella crowd and everyone was just dead still. Like no movement, nothing. So that
Rappers even were trying to do like EDM remixes of their songs.
rappers are trying everything. Like everyone's just standing there taking videos. So I don't know. I'm not trying to hate. I'm kind of hating, but I haven't been to Coachella yet, so maybe it'll change my mind when I go out there and check it out. But I have a love for the dance music community and how it's about like dancing and enjoying it. But yeah, we'll see. I guess weekend two's coming up. Maybe the energy will be different. Yeah, I think Coachella's, I think it's 2 weekends. It might be worth a Google. I believe, because yeah, my birthday weekend's coming up, and it's always on Coachella weekend. Is Coachella 2 weekends? By the way, ChatGPT is getting out of hand. I use it for everything right now, but like, I don't know if producers know this. You can use it for like producer feedback. So I'll like upload a track and be like, from a mixing and mastering perspective, where is my track lacking? And it'll be like, oh, you need to add like in the 40 hertz or 50 hertz frequency range to your track. So it's getting scary.
That's genuinely
Yeah, with AI. All right, let's see. Is Coachella
no, I saw
2
people saying like
weekends?
Coachella's like a project that's been fabricated by like influencers just to get like a
It-
bunch of content.
yeah, it's just like a content. Yeah, so it is 2 weekends. But that's what it seems like. It's kind of like a content show.
And all the
It's
brands that go to promote and stuff, and they bring influencers.
Yeah, it's not, it's like a brand driven influencer generated festival. So probably not the vibe. EDC, I love EDC. I think where are we at? We're coming on into summer season. So May, I believe, is EDC.
No, November.
No, that's EDC Orlando. EDC Orlando is November,
Oh,
and May is EDC Vegas. EDC Vegas, in my opinion, is the dominant of the two festivals. If you've never been, EDC Vegas is like its own world, unreal experience. I played maybe 3 years ago, and it's just such a different experience because you're in Vegas, right? And then you drive out to the middle of like pretty much nowhere. It's like an hour and a half. That drive is brutal, by the way. Anyone that's been to EDC Vegas will know what I'm talking about. And then you're just like in your own world, because I think it's in the NASCAR stadium, or it used to be in the NASCAR stadium. I think it still is. So it's like your own world in the middle of nowhere. You look up, you see the stars. That's why it's under like the electric sky. But compared to EDC Orlando, like you're still kind of in the city, which I don't know. I don't like EDC Orlando is awesome. Don't get me wrong; it's better than nothing. But like it's weird because it shuts down at 12 a.m. EDC Vegas goes to like 7 or 8 a.m. Yeah, so if you've only been to EDC Orlando, like add it to your bucket list to go to EDC Vegas because in my opinion, it's definitely a better experience and it's the OG. And do I stay in Vegas when I?
Like, how do you
Oh,
leave? Is it like a camping site?
yeah, so they have camping at EDC Vegas, but I don't know, just like the Coachella camping. I've seen so many people posting about it being a nightmare. But well, so EDC Vegas, yeah, I have a funny story. So getting into EDC Vegas, like I said, it's like an hour and a half drive from the city. And then also getting out of it is the same, but then you're dealing with like traffic. So I had one of the worst like artist transportation experiences of my life. No shade to EDC, but it was horrible, right? So this is, like I said, maybe 3 years ago, and I played the last set. So it was like 6 a.m. on one of the art cars, one of the side cars. And when I got out, all of the artist transportation had already left. So they ditched the last artist. You know, obviously if you're like Tiesto or something, you're getting helicopter lifted out. But I got pretty much stranded. This is at like 7 a.m., you know, so obviously dead tired. And, you know, you're with everyone, and if you don't have your transportation set up, you're kind of like SOL. You got to wait for a bus, and that could take like an hour and a half to 2 hours just to get on. So then you're, you know, by then it's like 8 a.m. So me and my friends were like, oh, let's just like, you know, try and get a cab, which we did. We ended up getting like price gouged like crazy. I think he charged us $400 for the ride because we were stupid and we didn't ask up front. So don't do that. If you know, make sure to set your transportation up. But yeah, the artist transportation, they just ditched us at 7 a.m. And that was, yeah. Otherwise, it was great. Like the whole experience. A lot of people don't know this with EDC Vegas. For the artists, they had like a backstage area. Obviously, you know, there's like backstage areas, but this one at EDC Vegas, they made it like its own party. So the year I went, it's always like a theme party. The year I went, it was like a 70s disco themed. So it was so cool because like you have all the artists, everyone's walking around. And it's like a trippy 70s disco vibe. So that was a cool experience. EDC Orlando is a bit more of like a typical festival setup where you just have like the artist area. But it's cool also. Shout out to EDC. So yeah, so Coachella, I don't know what's going on there. We'll see if Weekend 2 energy picks up. Let's see what else is going on in the dance music world.
There's Electric Forest coming up. Have you heard of it?
So Electric Forest, yeah, that's like more, is that up north or that's?
Way, like from us, it's like a 24-hour drive.
Oh
But
shit, yeah. Is that Virginia? Where is it?
I think it's Michigan.
Okay, Michigan. Yeah, I haven't been to like one of those forest festivals where it's like in the middle of nowhere.
My friends went camping and they said it was so good. Like there, since it doesn't really get hot, they had a great time and
Yeah.
just camping and going to the music.
Yeah, so okay, so yeah, camping festivals, it's to each their own. I'm definitely I need a hotel and I need a shower. I haven't done a proper festival in a while. Like I no, I haven't been to Bonnaroo is another one that's like you're in the middle of it. And that's just for some people. But yeah, maybe I'm spoiled with the yeah, I think once you get the artist experience, it's kind of hard to go back to not experiencing that, which I know is a horrible thing to say. And sometimes I wish like I didn't have the artist veil. Like it's kind of like it lifts a bit of the magic, right? Because you see your favorite artist, you're backstage with them, and it just kind of like takes a little bit away from it. And sometimes I just want to be a fan and like get back to that mindset of just like the magic of the dance music world. Yeah, now I know the industry. I'm like, I've seen like fucking dark shit, you know, like not like that, but kind of. Yeah, so you see a different side of it and it kind of changes your perception of dance music in the world. I still love making the music. It's just sometimes it's hard to like listen to a song without the producer mindset of like, oh, this sounds, you know, good or bad, or like, why is this one blowing up? Is it because their content push?
But shouldn't you even like be able to enjoy a little more, knowing how much it takes to get there? You know what I mean?
I think if I'm being honest, I think every artist is like always focused on their own music and their sound and kind of comparing. It's like it's horrible. It's the same argument with like social media. Like social media sucks because you're always comparing yourself to other people, and it's just a comparison game. So I think producers, a lot of producers, at least myself, it could just be me. I could just be in my head about it, but you're comparing your music. You're like, wait, why is that much better? Or like, how do they do that? Yeah. So then you're like trying to hack it. Like, okay, oh, they did like a cool bass line that had like a, an A minor, whatever it is, whatever. Yeah, exactly. So it's hard to like, get out of that producer mindset sometimes and go back as a fan and just enjoy the experience, you know? Yeah. So like, I don't like listen to music enough for, I used to listen all the time for enjoyment. I think now, like going to the gym, like I haven't been in a bit. I need to get back into it. But when I'm working out, like that's one time. It's always been a place where I loved dance music. I think that's when I started getting into dance music in like 2010. It was the same time I was like working out and like just dance music was it. It was such a weird thing being, because I've been in this now for like 15 years. And just people did not, everyone just called it techno back in the day. That was like the generic term, it was not a thing to be a fan of like dance music in 2009, 2010 when I was in like high school. So everyone was like Lil Wayne was it, and I was like the only like DJ that liked like techno. But it was cool because you had a little community, not at the school, like no one in my high school like knew dance music at whatsoever. But like finding people, like I went to my first ultra in 2009. And so that was a sick experience. I'll never forget. Let's see who the first ever artist is like, in my head that I saw at a music festival. Ultra 2009, Pretty Lights. Unreal. If you don't know Pretty Lights, then you're too young. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, Pretty Lights, you definitely would know the song Finally Moving. Avicii kind of used the same sample of the, oh, sometimes I get a good feeling. Yeah. So Pretty Lights did like, well, that's all. So that's like the third version. Like the Avicii one is a remake of a remake of a remake, pretty much. Cause the Finally Moving or the one before that, because that's from I think like a 70s or 80s song. Let me see. So Finally Moving, Pretty Lights original sample, because I know Pretty Lights sampled it. Yeah, let's see. So Pretty Lights Finally Moving track samples Etta James' 1962 classic Something's Got a Hold on Me. So Pretty Lights sampled it, and that was like, kind of mind-blowing at the time because like sampling stuff wasn't as common. Finally Moving was released in 2006. That's crazy. It's crazy it took that long to become such a big track. The sample Something Got a Hold on Me has become influential, also appeared in Levels and Good Feeling. So it's interesting that a sample that could have such a big moment in dance music could then come back and become the biggest. Yeah. So like I argue that Levels is probably the biggest of all time dance music song. And so, but for me as like a 2009 dance music fan, Pretty Lights Finally Moving was like, was the biggest song of that time. So it's interesting. You think a sample was like had its day, and then 2 years later, or a few years later, Avicii comes back and remakes it into Levels.
Question: do you get inspiration from like rock music or like any other genre sometimes? Like
yeah. So I don't know if you might not be able to hear Alexia because we don't have you mic'd up, but she was asking if I get inspiration from other genres of music. I definitely, when I was younger, I was into like screamo for sure. Before it was like my progression was screamo and then dance music. That was it. Yeah, my brother was a bass guitarist in like a hardcore rock band and like a screamo band. So he took me to concerts early on in like that scene, like the grunge. I mean, Billy Talent.
oh my god.
Yeah. Down. It was like Canadian. Screamo band. Rejected. Yeah, I used to love that shit. But then I think that is maybe there's definitely some crossover between like screamo and like hardcore rock and like dance music fans. I think a lot of them went from like that to like dubstep or like that's like the transition.
Heard a lot of like Slipknot remixes lately.
Yeah.
Techno.
Yeah, I know Nitty Gritties is kind of putting on like a punk. I was early on. I know I'm always but 2019, I did a remix of a punk rock band called All My Friends, and it was with this band 408, who's actually they're kind of crushing it right now. they're on Warped Tour and like everything like that. But yeah, I did a remix of their track. It did well. It did like 4 or 5 million streams on Spotify. So it showed like I always test stuff out as like different, mixing different genres with dance music to see because you never know it'll work. That was one I did like also like a more of an indie rock remix with 49th in Maine. They've had some big songs, and next up, gonna do a little plug. I have a remix of Teenage Dirtbag, which is like if you know that right from Retrovision and myself. Retrovision, we did a track a few years ago that did really well. And we flipped Teenage Dirtbag, which if you don't know, it's like, I don't know if it was like American Pie. It was in one of the big early 2000 movies. Yeah, it's like, I'm just a teenage dirtbag, baby. Yeah. So we did a flip of that, and that's coming out in a month with the band. So the band is actually on board and like it's going to be on their Spotify. Yeah, it's official and everything. So I'm pumped on that. That was probably a 2-year process to actually get that finished. So that's why a lot of times, like I see people on TikTok commenting on artists like, drop this now or like release it. But you're not going to be able to get like that official push if you do it that way. So that is why a lot of times artists kind of not gatekeep, but they hold on to stuff for a while because they're trying to get the green light from the bigger artist or whoever they sampled to get the permission to release it. Because as an artist that's how you can get it to a bigger audience, right? That's the goal with a lot of more hype. Well, sometimes hype dies down. I mean, there's definitely something to be said about like leaking something on TikTok and then you wait too long and then the track is dead and people forgot about it and they don't care. So there's a weird middle ground you got to find where it's like, maybe you don't even post about it at all until you get the green light. Like we haven't really posted about the song on purpose because we're trying to do like now we have a month. Let's start going hard on promo. So we know people will actually be able to get the song.
Like I could name at least 10 people in my life who would love that remix. Like you should.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it's a little. It's definitely a happier, feel good one, which I love. I love making that stuff. But both myself and Retrovision have been leaning more in that lane. I always am thinking of like, okay, this is where dance music's at, and it's got too much of this. So in my opinion, right now, there's just too much dark techno, tech house artists. It's just like flooded, and it makes you as a consumer or like even as an artist, like I crave something different. I just want whatever the opposite of that is as a relief. And so for that would be like feel good dance music. So I'm all about, I mean, my past 3 records were, I guess, like typical like progressive house, that feel good melodic kind of sound. I had the Bingo Players one, which was Adrenaline, and then Tequila Sunrise with Mads, and then Your Minute was the last one on Perfect Havoc. And they all had that progressive house kind of feel good sound. And I see an audience like on my socials. I've had an audience from the past, but a new audience, a new group of people coming in, being like, "Oh, I love that new sound that you're putting out and stuff," even though it's kind of like the old stuff from 2011, 2012.
Always crave that. Like I used to love techno, and then it got so famous to the point I didn't even.
Yeah, it can become a turnoff when it's just everywhere, and then you're just looking at artists and you're listening. And you're like, I've heard this song 30 times before because it just feels like the same thing over and over again. Because the artists, and this is a big issue for artists, is they see a trend, they're like, oh, let's hop on it and try and become bigger from it or become more successful, and then everyone gets sick of it, and then people are like, all right, what's the next thing? Until someone comes back with something new, and they're like, okay, this is what's next. I think that the thing that hasn't been completely tapped into yet, it's definitely popular, but could be bigger, would be like the UKG, like Morgan C. Tree. I've been loving. He has like the Say My Name, so it's like 138, 140 BPM, which is like high tempo house music. It feels good. So that's what I've been loving making lately. And I think also as an artist, like picking a lane is important, but you do need to evolve with time and change your sound as time goes, or else you're just going to be stuck forever and you'll become a dated artist. Like it happens. Obviously, if you have a hit song that everyone knows, then you'll be good. All right, let's see what else is going on in the dance music world. Been using, like I said, ChatGPT to get some news. Okay. visa challenges for international artists. So I had this just happen. So if you don't know, if you're playing a show in a different country and you're from a different country, right, you need to get a work visa to get approved. So this was just saying that ALOC has expressed concern over increasing difficulties getting a U.S. visa for, I guess he's Brazilian, okay, to play in the U.S. And I've heard this a lot. Like, for example, Retrovision has told me he has had a bunch of inquiries, people wanting to book him in the U.S., but he just can't get his visa approved to work here, which is horrible. That sucks. Like, people want to see the artist and they can't get the visa. But I had this reverse happen in for my China show in Shanghai, and I'm sure everyone knows China, U.S. a little bit off right now with the relations. I'm not going to get into foreign politics because I'm a DJ. But anyways, as a DJ, I was trying to just go play over there. I got booked through an agency, and we had no idea of like what the visa process was like. And apparently, you needed. We figured this out as we went. Like the agency didn't tell us, but you have to get your visa. You have to get like a work permit from the Chinese government, right? Then you need to get that work permit sent to you and approved by the visa. You have to apply through the U.S. By the embassy, and there's no Chinese embassy in the state of Florida. So that embassy was in D.C. So I thought I was gonna have to fly to D.C. to take this work permit to ask them to approve it and stay there for a week because that's how long it takes to get approved. Luckily, I found like a place to apply for me. So they had like a courier in DC. Anyways, it was a pain in the ass and it got rejected. Yeah, because foreigners can't work in China and obviously without getting everything approved. And once I had everything, it still got rejected somehow. They said it wasn't in their system. And so then now like we're talking maybe 4 days before my show, and I had my flights booked and everything. I got rejected. I had to call the embassy like 20 times, pretty much begging them to like push it through because it was approved. And I had someone from the embassy call me back and like, we're going to help you, And I was just like, yes, thank you, God. And that was the day before I received, because they have your passport too during this whole process. So yeah, so they have my passport. They had to send it back. They rushed it. I got it the day before my flight to Shanghai, which was super intense. But yeah, I was stressing, and again, people don't know this, but it depends on the show. Sometimes the venue will book your flights for you. On this instance, the agreement was I booked my own flights, so I would have had to eat that cost potentially if we didn't get that pushed through. So, anyways, playing in Asia though, absolute vibe. I think as an artist, you hit these kind of not like maybe bucket list accolades where I'm like, okay, I did that. And it just goes into my little memory box of like achieved that as an artist. It feels good, And for me, always performing in Asia has always been a big bucket list thing. So I'm happy I was able to check that off. I'm hoping that it'll lead to more shows as well. Yeah, that's what happens a lot of times. They will rebook artists in certain territories that do well. So they were saying though at the club, I played at a place called Roddy, and just won like the top 80th club in the world or something on DJ Mag, which is awesome. But they were saying they don't really book. It was like their first time having an American in a year or two. I think they had a craze, they said before that. But most of them are European. They're booking a lot of European acts. She asked if there was any culture shock. Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, I'm not going to throw shade, but I could not do the Chinese food. It's just so heavy, honestly. Yeah. So I barely ate for like 3 days. I ate like rice and that was it. I'm always like a little scared about getting food poisoning before a show. It's like an internal fear. I know it's happened to artists before. Like it's an internal fear. And obviously I flew all the way to China. I'm like, I want to make sure everything goes right. I don't want to eat anything sketchy or like, do anything that could fuck up my show. So that was in the back of my head. I ate pretty much bland, like white rice and like Coca-Cola, and that was it. Just very basic. But when we went to Japan after, and there we ate like everything. A little bit too much. Like we had booked a omakase. If you don't know what an omakase is, it's like the chef just serves you whatever they're gonna serve you. And I was like not hyped for it because I'm not like the most adventurous eater, but I'm not. All right, they brought out fish heads. I'm sorry, shrimp heads, and they were off the live shrimp. They showed us the shrimp first, and then they killed them, and then they were gonna. And I was like, I'm not eating that shit. So, and then they get kind of offended too if you don't eat the omakase. Maybe I'm not cultured, but I wasn't. I didn't eat the shrimp heads. Yeah, that's it. That was in Japan though. Otherwise, Japan was amazing. I mean, and it's still we had some great like tuna, salmon, the basic sushi stuff. I'm just not the most adventurous sushi eater. But yeah, I will say as far as like a country goes, I think Japan is my favorite place I've ever been. Just the people, like everyone was so kind, and like I did a photo shoot out there, which was really cool with one of the local photographers, and the scene actually seems pretty strong out there as well. In Tokyo, when I was there, I think Alice in Wonderland was playing at one of the clubs, and I should have gone. I was just jet lagged. They invited me out to go, but jet lag was hitting. Yeah, I have a funny Alice in Wonderland story. Another one relating to EDC. So this is EDC Orlando a couple years ago, and I'll never forget. I had just finished my set, which was like I think a 9 p.m. set, and she was playing at 10 or 11, and I was like walking out of like the backstage area, and I see her. She's just like getting into it with a security guard. They weren't letting her in because she didn't pick up her bands with artist stuff. You have to like go to like a hotel before to pick up your artist bands, and they weren't letting her in. And she had her set in like 10 minutes, and they weren't letting her in to like get ready for her set. So I was like to the security, I was like, no, this is like Alice in Wonderland. Like you gotta let her in. And I think they eventually called someone, but it's crazy. Sometimes security, I mean, obviously they got to take their job serious, but they literally showed her a picture on Instagram and then showed the set time, and like we had like multiple people vouching for her. Yeah, and they weren't. Yeah, it's their job, but like it's also the artists, and I mean they figured it out. But yeah, they can get really strict at certain events. Another bad bouncer experience. Again, no shade to bouncers. I know they're just doing their job. But I think I talked about this before. I was with Afrojack's team. Yeah. So I got invited out with Afrojack's team to 11 when he was playing in Miami. So I played with Afrojack maybe 2 or 3 years ago for New Year's Eve. And since then became kind of tight with his team. So they invited us out, me and my brother. And we get there, everything's cool. I'm with his tour manager, who's awesome, and like his whole team. And then, I'm like to my brother, I'm like, should I go say what's up to him, to Afrojack before he plays? It's always a weird thing, especially with like a big act that you've like kind of looked up to, and like you don't know, like you don't want to be weird or like approach artists the wrong way. And obviously Afrojack, absolute legend. But so I go to like just give him like a tap and be like, yo, what's up, brother? And security straight up before I could even like do that pushes me and says, what the fuck are you doing? And they say, no, you're cool standing here, but you got to get the fuck out now. And Afrojack obviously doesn't know what's happening because like, he doesn't remember me probably because like, why? Yeah. At the end of the day, I played with him 2 years before. So we went to a different area, and I was like, all right. I think that's just 11 also because I think their security's probably used to dealing with like creepy guys and stuff like that. So they're maybe extra on the edge. But when he got physical, like I almost lost my shit, and I was like, I'm like, all right, let's just take a breath. And I just was like, fuck this, I'm out. And it was a bummer. I know. I'm just laying it all out here on the podcast. There's so many DJ stories I have from like artist interactions. It's not, but again, like Afrojack, I met him before. He's one of the nicest guys ever. So it's not on him. It's the security just thinking that maybe that I wasn't with him, or I don't know what. Yeah, I guess they have to be on edge because you don't know if someone's coming at an artist or. So as she asked how I like to be like approached, I'm pretty laid back, but I will say like definitely don't touch me unless I like am aware. I was playing a set, I think it was Tampa, maybe a month or two ago, and the way the room is set up, you have like the entrance to the right of the DJ, and then the DJ booth is right there. So when people are walking in, like they're walking by, it's a bit of a weird setup. They're walking by the DJ booth. And some guy walks in, and I'm like this, like putting my hands up for like a drop, and like taps me in the stomach. And he's like, "Yo, Land," and I like curl over because I thought I just got like hit in the stomach. He's like, "Yo, Landis, like, what the fuck is up?" And I was like, "Dude, like, first of all, I pretended to know him, and I had no idea who he was. I'm sorry if you're watching right now. Yeah, you'll never know if I know you or I don't know you because I'm always gonna pretend like I know you. That's just who I am. It sucks, but yeah. What am I gonna say? Like, I don't know who the fuck you are. I guess I should have, but don't do that. So he hit me in the stomach in front of the crowd. So they're like, "What the fuck just happened?"
But like, do artists genuinely care if people like come up to them like, hey, dude, nice to meet you, or like, have you met artists that genuinely want to be approached like?
So I've had one or two artists that were really weird about saying hello to them. I'm not gonna name drop, but this was maybe like 5 years. This one always sticks in my head because it was like the worst interaction. But I pretty much went to go say hi to him, and his manager stepped in front. He's like, "Yo, no, like you talk to me, and then I'll talk to him, and he'll decide if he wants to talk to you or something like that." And I was like, "Yo, what?" Yeah, it wasn't even that. I mean, he was big at the time, but not like massive. And also, I had a song on his record label and stuff like that. So, yeah. So I was like, "Yeah, what are you talking?" I mean, they put me on the list to get back there, but that was weird. Maybe it was before his set. But I will say, like, some of the biggest artists in the world, for example, like Zed, I met, is the nicest human ever. Like, I was closing for him. He was like, "Yo, like, let me know if you need me to help with the transition at all for like getting off the decks." I was like, "Dude, you're fucking Zed." He was like, "Yo, how was it? Did the crowd like it?" I'm like, "Dude, this is Zed. This is wild. That is the conversation I'm having." Yeah, so like it's never like not always like the biggest artists. Sometimes it's like the lower to mid level artists that are a bit more egotistical. Maybe that's why they stay in the lower to mid level. Yeah, because I think to be an artist, you need to be comfortable with people, and I see what is it, Chaperone. She's getting a lot of shade right now because she kind of seems like she hates all of her fans. Is the vibe that I'm getting. I mean, I guess that's the perception on social media is like she does not like being famous, but it's like you picked the wrong career. You got to get comfortable if you're gonna be a figure at being famous or being in front of people. DJs have a little bit better for sure than most pop artists because a lot of DJs would walk down the street. Like I bet you 90% of people probably wouldn't know what Calvin Harris looked like. Yeah, like the biggest DJs in the world, people still don't have like the visual, like know who they are. Maybe like John Summit, like everyone would know, but there's a lot of them that are massive. Yeah, so that's probably one of the best things about being a DJ is you could be at that level and still, walk down the street and have a normal life, and people don't really know who you are. Okay. All right. So this is a over the 30-minute threshold episode, but yeah, I enjoy just chatting about the state of dance music. We'll definitely do some more solo episodes. Follow, like, subscribe, all that good stuff for the Wired Sound podcast, and we'll be back next week with a special guest.